myself, so I'm assuming we're probably live. Let me click this. It says waiting for RogersBase currently, but it shouldn't be waiting. Let me see. One Piece is the best, absolutely. Hold on, let me open this up and see. It still says it's all right, we're live. We're live. For some reason, though, I can't see the stream itself. I know we're live because it says we're live, but did the stream not start yet? Hold on. Hello, Roger. Hello. Can you guys see the stream? Yes? Hello? Hello? Look, he's here. Wait. Can you guys see the stream or no? I'm seeing people saying, well, hello there. So I think you could see me. You're good? Hey, we're live. What's going on then, everybody? RogersBase here. I figured, you know what, there's so many people who've been asking me over the course of the past 2 days to do a video about the news where Shonen Jump said that we're entering the final arc of One Piece. And you guys know this. I mean, I've been doing One Piece videos for 5 years at this point. I am not really interested in sitting down and regurgitating a lot of the same things that I've talked about over and over again in other videos regarding the end of One Piece. And so I figured instead I would sort of share my thoughts on the final arc, or what I believe the end of One Piece is going to look like, in a live stream with all of you. And I see there's a lot of people in here. I want to get this out of the way right now. Because I know there's going to be people asking me about it in the stream. First off, I know the scans for Attack on Titan 131 are out right now. I am waiting for the official release. I think it comes out in just a couple days. I've not yet been spoiled, which is good. I don't think I'm going to be spoiled. Attack on Titan people are usually pretty cool. But with that being said, please, no spoilers for the latest chapter of Attack on Titan. I will be covering it in just a couple days. Additionally, yes, I am doing live reactions to Solo Leveling, not only Chapter 111, but Chapter 112 as well, which have both been confirmed for Saturday on PappyToon. So I will be doing my live reactions to Solo Leveling on Saturday. And in addition to all of that, yes, I am well aware of the fact that the new One Piece chapter is coming out on Monday next week instead of on Sunday. There's not going to be a Sunday One Piece chapter this weekend. For whatever reason, they're not releasing it on Sunday. It's going to be on Monday. And so you can expect my live reaction. Hey, thank you very much, by the way, to J-Man Joestar, who said, I'm trying to catch up to your Solo Leveling reactions. Finally started reading. Also, I think One Piece is getting to the final saga, not the arc. Believe me, you're jumping the gun. We're going to discuss all that. Trust me, you and I, we're on the same page, J-Man Joestar. We're on the same page, but we'll get to it. I'm just doing some housekeeping announcements right now. But again, One Piece is coming out on Monday and not on Sunday. So look forward to my live reaction and review on Monday. And additionally, Solo Leveling is going to be Saturday, and it's going to be my live reaction to both 111 and 112. And again, Attack on Titan, I think, comes out either tomorrow or Friday, whenever it comes about the potential ending of One Piece that has been teased. So let me actually read this out really quickly. Let me get my glasses. By the way, hope you guys are doing well. Also, if you haven't been watching my gaming streams recently, what do you think of my new setup? I actually really like this. I think this looks really cool. Obviously, right now, I'm still... Let me really quickly just read out this news article in case you haven't heard this already. This was actually posted a couple days ago, but I waited for the official Anime News Network thing about it. So it says here, in an advertisement for the upcoming One Piece magazine Volume 10 on September 4th, this year's 35th issue of Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump teased on Monday that Ichiro Oda's One Piece manga is headed towards the upcoming final arc. The advertisement did not give any more specifics, but it also made the reference to the 10th volume of the One Piece magazine, focusing on a theme of rereading the manga to prepare for the climax of the story. Thank you very much, by the way, to Rob Harley, who just donated and said the thumbnail for the video is exactly how I pictured the final chapter of One Piece will go, with Brook traveling the world to tell everyone the tale of, and you guys are hearing it when people are donating. And also, Sir Cowboy donated and said, may the blaze of Escanor touch y'all. And what do you think when One Piece finishes? So many fans will have nothing to do. Read the madness? I don't know. There was weird punk. Also, thank you to Red the Hero for becoming a member. Nakama. Greatly appreciate that. Now, let me talk a little bit. People are saying there are big lag spikes going on right now. The stream is lagging. Uh-oh. The stream is lagging. Uh-oh. Is it really? Hopefully that all evens out. Hopefully it's not that bad. Let me just adjust something here, and maybe that'll help the lag a little bit. Roger's still live. Just refresh the stream. Oh, it's on YouTube's end. Oh, don't worry about it then. Yeah, just refresh the page and you'll be good. People are saying, yeah, 0 lag. So I guess the people in the chat who were saying there was lag going on right now, just refresh the page. It should be good. Everyone else said there's no lag, so I don't know what that was about. And as I mentioned already, no spoilers for Solo Leveling 111 or 112 or Attack on Titan 131. We will be getting to all of that. And the other big reason I want to do this stream right now, the other major reason I want to do this stream on this news right now is because the spoilers for the new chapter haven't come out yet. And so I feel like now is the perfect time to talk about it without getting spoiled, by reading the chat or talking about it in the video. So there you go. Alpha said I switched to PC and everything was better. Well, excellent, excellent. Thank you, by the way, to Kashab Karki for becoming a Mammoth Boy. Thank you very much. Nakama, greatly appreciate that. Thank you for coming through. Roger, don't worry, it is actually YouTube that's misbehaving. Well, we're good. We're good then, we're good. So yeah, let me actually break all this down really quickly, because something that I think, who was it? Was it Rob who mentioned this earlier in the beginning of the stream? Let me actually look down and say exactly who was talking about this. J-Man Joestar. So, J-Man was saying that he thinks they are talking about the final saga of One Piece and not the final arc of One Piece. Now, what do I mean by saga? Well, some of you guys might not know this, but basically the way that One Piece is, the stories of One Piece are put together is they're chronicled in sagas and not just by individual story arcs. So what that means is there's like the East Blue Saga, which includes everything from the very beginning, leading all the way up to when they get to the Grand Line. Then there's the Alabasta Saga, which goes through, Drum Island and all the stuff with Laboon, and then Alabasta. That goes into the Skypiea Saga, which includes Jaya. Then there's like the Water 7 Enies Lobby Saga, the Thriller Bark Saga, and then finally, at the end of all of it, we've got the Summit War Saga, which includes everything from Sabo Archipelago, leading to the final, moments of the post-war arc after Marineford is said and done. Then we moved in to the new sagas of the post-time skip era. We had the Fishman Island Saga, which included Fishman Island and then the return to Sabaody. We also have the Dressrosa Saga, which includes Punk Hazard. People forget Punk Hazard is part of the Dressrosa Saga. And then, moving on from that, we got Whole Cake, and now, where we are right now, we're in Wano country, but technically, Whole Cake and Wano, if I'm correct, are part of the same story saga, the verses for Yonko Saga. Now we can double check if you just go to the One Piece Wiki really quick, type in One Piece Wiki, and you look up story sagas. Look at this, bada bing, bada boom. You see what I'm talking about right here, the plot of One Piece, and as you can see, I don't know why it's looking like this. This is really weird. Story sagas. There you go. Normally it's broken down like this, exactly. So we've got the Fishman Island Saga, the Dressrosa Saga, and then the Four Emperor Saga, which goes from Zou all the way through to where we are now in Wano country. So that's the breakdown currently of what the sagas are like. By the way, thank you very much to all the new members. Monkey D. Luffy became a member. Nakama, thank you so much. And Mega became a member as well. Thank you very, very much, Mega. Nakama. So, anyway, now that whole thing is broken down, and again, apologies, people are saying YouTube is still broken. Please refresh the stream. We're good to go. Are sagas canon? Yes, so the sagas are indeed canon. The breakdown of the sagas are canon. Where did I put my glasses? Over here. I want to put these on so I actually can read everything properly. So, again, Fishman Island, Dressrosa, Four Emperor Saga. Now, again, there were multiple sagas in the Sea of Survival. We had East Blue, Alabasta Sky, Water 7, Thriller Bark, Summit War. There are 6 here. What I believe, and what I think a lot of other people agree with me on, is that Four Emperors, considering this includes all of Whole Cake and Wano, is probably going to be the longest story saga in terms of the entirety of the series. Like, I think if Wano's already really long, right? And I'm assuming we still have at least a couple chapters of Wano, Act 3, at least. Like, I know the raid has officially begun, but I feel like minimum we've got at least like 3 or 4 left in Act 3, and then all of Act 4, plus then we got Act 5, so there's a lot of stuff. And, people were mentioning, time and time again, editors have said, oh, One Piece is going to end in 5 years. One Piece is going to end in 5 years. It's 75% complete or whatever. But a lot of people right now agree that at the pace that One Piece is moving currently with Wano Country and the reveals about the story and the way everything's sort of coming together, that One Piece most likely, this is the first time in the history of them ever saying this, most likely One Piece is going to end within about 5 years. Now, I think that 5-year marker probably is from the climax of Wano onward. Because again, if this is a push with the new magazine where they're saying we want people to catch up so then they're ready for the climax of the story, And they're also pushing, saying it's like 5 years until the ending. And the pacing in Wano and the things that are being revealed about the story, it does seem like it's gonna probably wrap up in about 5 years. I mean, you've got Kaido and Big Mom saying they're gonna go find the One Piece in one of the most recent chapters. Like, it's happening. All right, we're getting there. Now, the question is, right, if we've got all these story sagas, we've got the Four Emperor Saga, Silver Mine all the way through Wano Country, obviously that's filler, but Zou through Wano Country. And we're looking at how long that is chapter-wise. I mean, we started this saga at chapter 802. We're most likely going to end this saga at some point in the thousands. That's a really, really, really long time, right? That's a long time within the story. But if you look at all of this and the way things are broken down, you look at the chapters, right? We got 654 was the beginning of Punk Hazard all the way to 801. Oops, hold on, I just minimized the screen. That wasn't what I wanted to do. If you look, oh, no, hold on, Chrome. No. There we go, we're good. I was like, wait a minute. Because if you look at the way that everything is broken down here, right, with Four Emperors, Dressrosa, and Fishman Island, my assumption is that if this arc includes so many major arcs like Whole Cake and Wano, the next arc, or the next saga, I should say, of story arcs will probably be the final saga or story saga of One Piece, right? Because if you think about this, when did Zou start? Zou officially started. Oh, why is this all breaking down? This is so weird. Nothing wants to work with me today. Let's go to Zou. Hello? Why is the Zou arc not working? Could you please work? Please? Why is my web browser breaking down now? All right, well, regardless. When did Zou start? When did Zou start? Zou started, if I'm remembering correctly, like 2015? Was it 2015? We're in 2020 right now. Did the manga start in 2015? Chat, you can let me know. But I think it started in 2015 because I'm thinking back to when I made videos and I'm pretty sure it was 2015. Because I think the Kaido reveal chapter was like the end of 2014. Right? Or am I going crazy? But I think it was around 2015. Let me see. The Wiki's saying, please do your job. People are complaining. Wait, come on, Wiki, do your job. Because we just want to know. Just do the math. Yeah, so it was October 2015. So there you go. That was the beginning of the beginning of Zou, which was the beginning of the story saga that includes Wano Country. My guess is that Wano, bare minimum, with the amount of stuff going on in the story arc right now, right? Bare minimum ends at the end of next year. Like, I think Wano is probably going to end, most likely at the earliest, at the end of 2021. So, again, take that into consideration with all the stuff I'm talking about with story sagas and what they actually mean when they say we're entering the final story and that there's 5 more years of One Piece left. Take all this into consideration, right? Take all this into consideration. So, let's say at the earliest, right, Wano wraps up at the end of 2021. What that could mean then is that at the beginning of 2022, moving into around like 2027, those are 5 years, that is then going to be the conclusion, the final story saga of One Piece. And I think when you put it like that, it sounds a lot more reasonable and a lot more likely. And I think people get a lot less defensive when you talk about it like that. Because I think a lot of people hear that 5-year marker and go, well, the editors have lied about all these things before. And, you know, these 75%, 80% complete things really mean nothing. Like, why are we even listening to the editors? But I do think they know what they're talking about. We just need to put it in terms where everybody can understand what exactly they mean, as opposed to, you know, it's 5 years from where we are in the story right now, which is the beginning of the raid in Onigashima. So, real quick, let me read some of this stuff out. We got a donation from Rob Harley saying, I find it weird that One Piece is split into 2 sagas and then broken down into even more sagas. Well, it's the pre-time skip and post-time skip, right? There's the New World Saga, and then there's the, you know, the East Blue Saga, and the Grand Line Saga, basically, the first half of the story. We got pre-time skip, post-time skip. But all the sagas within those major sagas, the 2 major sagas in One Piece, the first half and the second half, those are then including all of the other individual story arcs that were there. By the way, thank you very much to Burning World for becoming a member. Nakama, greatly appreciate that. And also, thank you very much to Pasha for becoming a member. Oh, not becoming a member, but for donating, saying, Roger, I love your enthusiasm. Do you think Carrot and Yamato will join? Maybe that is just wishful thinking. We're going to get to that in just a little bit as well. We're just talking about the story sagas right now, but don't you worry about a thing. We're going to be talking about future crewmates and all that kind of stuff during the stream as well. We're going to be talking about all of that today. So rest assured, stay here. We're going to get through all of it. We're good. We're good. We're good. All right. People in the chat are saying, I'm going to be a grown man when One Piece finishes. Well, I mean, realistically, if it finishes in the 5-year marker that I just laid out, which is probably starting at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, leading into probably like 2027, I'm going to be 37 at that point. Like, if One Piece ends in 2027, I will be 37 years old. And you take into consideration 5 years, right, of One Piece and 5 years of my channel. Look at where we were when I started my channel. Like, Zoe and Dressrosa. That's when I started. And this goes back to all the stuff I was talking about before of how much could happen in a 5-year marker. Like, so much can happen in that time frame. If we had Zoe through Wano Country in 5 years, like, think about how many more story arcs could fit into that final saga of the story if, you know, that includes Elbaf and the final war and going back to, you know, Marijoa and going to Laughtale. Most likely, all of that stuff is going to be part of one story saga. Like, the way that I think we're going to break this down, and real quick, I want to give a shout out to Tyler Drummond for donating, saying, I definitely agree with the final saga coming up, but not being the final arc. I feel like we have 2 or 3 major arcs left that are whole cake or Wano sized, and then maybe 2 or 3 smaller transition arcs, similar to Punk Hazard and Zoe. Completely agree. Now, here is where I want to break down my ideas for the end of One Piece. And I think realistically, what I could see happening during this final story saga. Because I do think, I'm going to say this, I think Wano is the final story arc of the 4 Emperor saga. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's kind of weird because we haven't really seen Shanks that much yet, and he's an emperor, and we haven't really seen that much of Blackbeard yet either. We saw little bits and pieces of him between Wano arcs, but like really, we have not seen a lot of both of them yet. I understand, I'm gonna get to all that, but the one big thing I wanna say is that Shanks and Blackbeard still have been present within story arcs within the 4 Emperor saga. Shanks was a crucial part of the Reverie arc. Blackbeard, obviously, we got to see what's going on with his post-time skip look and what's going on with Moria during that, I think it was the intro to Act 3 or the intro to Act 2 or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff with Shanks and Blackbeard that's happened within the story saga. It's just that primarily the focus has been on Big Mom and Kaido because really, if you're looking at the end of One Piece, I think Shanks and Blackbeard both need to be present for those final story arcs. At the very least, need to be present for the, you know, Laughtale reveal, whatever that's going to be. I think it's going to be a race between Luffy and Blackbeard to get to Laughtale, so obviously he's got to be present there. His story arc's not going to be wrapping up in the 4 Yonko saga, and Shanks, again, like Luffy has to give the hat back to Shanks, but Shanks could die because of Blackbeard. I mean, there's all these other different story possibilities that could potentially happen that could throw the story in a different direction. Really quickly, let me read out that donation from Ash the Stampede, saying, I started One Piece at age 14. If you are right, I will be 39 when we finish, bro. So I'm talking about, I'll be 37. I'm right there with you. Hashtag old man goals. I know, man. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Shout out, by the way, to BDA Law in the chat. What's going on, Brago? Welcome, welcome. It's lit. How are you not modded, by the way? Let me mod you real quick. How come you're not modded? Let me mod you. Hold on. Hold on. Let me go to live chat. Let me open this up real quick, Brago. Hold on. Why can't I mod you? Regardless, if I can't mod you now, I'm going to mod you later. Rest assured, he's got the check mark. You know it's the real BDA Law, so we're good to go. Anyways. Oh, also, and Ash the Stampede donated again and said there needs to be a time skip after Laughtale and before the final confrontation and ending. Again, I don't think there needs to be a time skip, but I do think there needs to be some type of arc before we get there. Now, as for my thoughts on what that arc is, let me sort of break all of this down and tell you the things that are essential before the end of the series, because people have their own ideas of, oh, we have to have a God Valley arc, and we have to have a Green Bit arc, and we have to, no, we don't. I would love a God Valley arc, right? I would love a Green Bit arc, but we don't need those story arcs, right? We don't need those. There are 3 story arcs that we need, and this is the breakdown of those 3. We need Elbaf, for reasons I'll get into a little bit later. We need the Laughtale arc, right? The discovery of Laughtale and what the One Piece is. And then we need the fallout from the discovery of Laughtale, which most likely will be the final war. It's discovering what the truth was about the world. It's then going to war against, either the world government or Blackbeard or whatever, all that stuff, and that's it. Those are the three major ones we need. However, among those three major ones, we could get a lot of smaller arcs, and that much I am cool with. Like, I would love to see some type of moon arc or something like that with, like, Eneru, with a return to him. I would love to see a return to Whole Cake Island at some point. This is something that I discussed with Sensei on a stream a little while ago, where, Luffy did say he's going to come back to Whole Cake Island to beat up Big Mom. He said that. So we might eventually get a return to Whole Cake Island arc. That might be a little smaller than Whole Cake Island, obviously. Whole Cake was a relatively long arc, but we could end up getting that. Real quick, I want to read out this donation from Y1NJ. Thank you for all the great One Piece content. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much, Y1, Nakama. And also, big thank you to Dale Ellis for becoming a member. Nakama, to you as well. Thank you for joining up with the membership crew. We have a lot of people in chat today. Holy mackerel. King of Lightning's in the chat. Brago's in the chat. Everybody's in the chat. I should have invited everybody on, honestly, to have a discussion. But really, I wanted to lay out my thoughts on this live by myself first before I get into like other discussion streams or whatever about this. I feel like there's just so much information to cover when talking about the end of One Piece and my thoughts on it that, again, it's much easier to just do it as a stream with myself and then eventually do a discussion a little bit later on. Okay, so again, those are the things we need. Let's break down how this could happen by the end of the story, realistically, within 5 years, all right? My assumption, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, my assumption is that Elbaf is going to be a Zoe-sized story arc. I do not think the adventure in Elbaf is going to be the size of like a Skypiea or a Whole Cake Island, and certainly not a Wano Country. I think like the size, maybe a little more than Zoe. Maybe a little more than Zoe. But I think ultimately it's going to be a Zoe-sized arc, right? And here's why I think this. Okay, here's why. First off, the primary function of going to Elbaf is to see the giants with Usopp, right? Usopp wants to be a warrior, respected by giants. He loves the giants. He wants to know more about them. At some point in the story, with how much has been set up and the arc of Usopp's story and wanting to be a great warrior and have all these followers and all this stuff, he needs to go to Elbaf. That is a need off the checkmark list, right? He needs to go to Elbaf. Now, based on what we know about Elbaf already, we know a couple things. One, we know that's where Mother Carmel had her hideout with the orphans. We know that's where that was. We know Big Mom obviously played an integral role in what Elbaf is today because she killed, Yorl and Jarl or whatever. Like, she killed the elder. So we know that already. So there needs to, again, not want, there needs to, by the end of the story, there needs to be some type of explanation or conclusion with Big Mom's story in Elbaf alongside, right, Usopp meeting the giants for the first time. Those two things are needs, musts for Elbaf. Okay, I said that. Now let's take into consideration something that most likely, these aren't needs, but most likely will happen during the Elbaf story arc. Okay, first off, the giant tree that was there, that was present in Big Mom's flashback. There was that giant tree that looks a lot like the Adam tree. Could be the Adam tree, actually. It probably is the Adam tree, honestly. There's talk of the Adam tree and the Eve tree and devil fruits and all this other stuff. It's most likely going to be one of those ancient trees, right? Again, Ohara had a giant tree, and they were studying things, and we found out information about the world. Most likely, we are going to find out the truth about the Adam tree, Eve tree, whatever, all that stuff in Elbaf. Most likely. It doesn't have to happen there. It could happen at the Return to Marijoa or when we find out about the Void Century or whatever, but most likely that will happen during the Elbaf story arc. Now, if you take into consideration what Zoe was, where we found out about the road poneglyphs, and we found out about the Kozuki clan, and all this history of the world, all this stuff, about how the poneglyphs were crafted in Wano country, right? All that stuff. Most likely, if Zoe was a massive info dump near the ending, Elbaf, most likely, And I keep saying most likely, but it's important that you guys note this because there's a difference between what needs to happen and what most likely will happen in this order. Most likely, the end of Elbaf will be an info dump in the same way that Zoe was. And again, we got lots of information about the Void Century and all that stuff during Zoe, so I can only imagine that we would get just as much, if not more, during Elbaf. Now the question is, when is Elbaf going to happen? Most likely, my assumption is that Elbaf is going to be immediately following Wano Country. Now, we still don't know if the Grand Fleet's going to show up to the raid on Onigashima or any of that stuff, or if that moment of the Grand Fleet's, changing of history, if that's going to happen during Wano. Probably won't, actually. But I think at the very least, some members of the Grand Fleet may show up to Wano Country. Now, let's assume some of the Grand Fleet members show up. Most likely, the one that would make the most sense to show up and then transition directly into Elbaf would be Haruden, right? Haruden's got his crew of giants. He knows Elbaf. He knows where it is. He's there and present during the Fire Festival raid or whatever if the Grand Fleet shows up. They need an out. They need to get out and escape from Wano Country after everything is said and done. That's their out. We get the allies to then follow along with Haruden. We get either, the mixed ship or the samurai I want to travel with or whatever. Yamato probably traveling along with Luffy because Yamato wants to be like Oden, all that stuff. They leave at the end of Wano Country with Haruden and they go to Elbaf. Boom, check mark. And that kicks off the beginning of the final story saga. Because really, you look at all of these other story arcs that kick off the sagas, right? We got the Return to Saba Odi, we got Punk Hazard, we got Zoe. What do all these arcs have in common? They're short story arcs that give information about what's to come and sort of lay out the ground rules of what the end of the series is going to be like. Now, again, if the end of the series, it has to be because it's the final story saga, explains what Laughtale is, brings us back to the world government, explains the Void Century, all this stuff, right? That needs to be set up with the first story arc of the final story saga, right? So even if it's not Elbaf, even if Elbaf doesn't end up being the first story arc of the saga, or it doesn't end up being like this story arc that's just filled with information about the world, at the very least, one thing we know, because again, every single story arc has been like this, every single one, dating back to East Blue. You got Romance Dawn, you got Reverse Island, all of these. Jaya, again, set up for Skypiea. All the stuff with Water 7, we had Foxy, and that was the introduction of Aokiji, which then led into some of the events of Water 7. We got Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark's really the only one that doesn't have like a setup arc. But all the other major ones, even Sabaody, all of them, except for Thriller Bark's the exception, they all have an info dump at the beginning. So again, that's something we know about the final story saga. Fact, it's going to happen. It's going to start with some type of info dump. It's going to happen. Now, real quick, before I get into my next point, I'm going to read out some of this stuff, all right? Coach just donated and said, do you think there's going to be a new Yonko after Wano? Most probably by everybody by themselves, or a world dominated by Blackbeard, then a time skip. Get the time skip idea out of your head right now, people. I'm going to say, I'm going to plant my flag in the ground right now. There will not be another time skip. There will not be. There will not be. If there is, it's going to be a minor time skip, but we are not getting a 3D 2Y type time skip again by the end of the series. We're not. We're just not getting that. So get that out of your heads right now. And the reason I say that is because if we are truly entering the final story arc, if we're about to enter or saga, I went back and forth between story and saga, but you know what I mean. If we're about to enter the final saga of One Piece from where we are now, what, you think we're going to skip all the stuff that happens at the end of Wano? That Big Mom and Kaido, we're not going to see them attaining the ancient weapon and going to war and all this stuff? No, 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 no. There's no way they're going to off-screen that. There's no way. Even with Oda rushing to pacing, there is zero, once again, I'm going to say it one more time, 0% chance that there's going to be a massive time skip. It ain't going to happen, all right? Not going to happen. Now, I lost my train of thought. Ash the Stampede donated and said, most likely, you are correct. Exactly. We got Prestige Alchemy donating saying, what's up, brother? I was thinking earlier that life without One Piece is going to suck because the story gave us the greatest sagas of all. Well, I mean, there's other manga and anime out there. And then Zach Umstatter said, I wanted to show my support for a possible epic finale prediction to see Luffy use the moon to crush Blackbeard or Akainu. Interesting. We're going Majora's Mask with this. I like that. Possibly Marijoa with the red line creating the all blue. I like that idea. That's a cool idea. But we're not getting into that right now. So we talked about Elbaf. That's most likely going to be the info dump at the beginning of the final story saga. But the thing that I vehemently believe, very least, final story saga starts with an info dump. Most likely is going to be Elbaf. And Elbaf needs to include information with, not information, but character development for Usopp and information about Big Mom's history with Elbaf. Those are the only things we know that we need. Moving on from that. Okay. Now, possibilities from the end of Elbaf moving into what I believe is going to be the second to last major story major story arc, excuse me. I gotta be careful with my wording. The second to last major story arc of One Piece, which I think is going to be Laughtale. Now, here's why I say I think Laughtale's coming after Elbaf and why I think it's going to be like a major arc. Well, first off, it kind of needs to be, I'm assuming. Laughtale kind of needs to be a major arc because I think that is ultimately going to be the culmination of where we deal with Blackbeard on a major level, where we see Shanks again. I think all of that, in addition to finding out about the Void Century and the truth of the world and all that stuff, I think that's all going to be dealt with during the Laughtale story arc. Because I've said this time and time again, I do not think Blackbeard is the final antagonist of One Piece. I don't. I think the final antagonist of One Piece is the world government. It's the Marines. It's Emu. It's dealing with all the stuff that put in place the world that we know today in One Piece. People are going, we're in the end game now. We are in the end game now. That's why I figured I'd do this stream randomly at like 11:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. It's just this news article got me thinking, and I knew that if I didn't do this as a live stream, if I just ended up doing this as like, a regular video, I wouldn't be able to get all my thoughts out there, and then people would be like, oh, you missed this thing, or whatever. This way you guys could, remind me of things to talk about with donations, and I can sort of get out there what I want to get out there. Okay. Now, Elbaf. Then we got Laughtale. Okay, so Laughtale, what we need during Laughtale, breaking this down again, what we need in Laughtale is the reveal of what the One Piece is. That's a need. We need that. What we most likely also will get alongside that is all the info on the Void Century and Joy Boy and the ancient weapons and all that stuff. Most likely will be revealed alongside the reveal of whatever One Piece is, right? That's a safe assumption. I think most of you in the chat will agree with me. That is a safe assumption. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up, and I'm really glad that I saw somebody else bringing this up in the chat. Quavo just brought this up, saying everybody's forgetting about Roadstar Island, the last log post. No. I'm not forgetting about this. This is all tied in with Laughtale. I believe what's going to happen is the Laughtale arc begins on Roadstar Island. I think it starts there. Because ultimately, right, what is a story arc? What breaks down a story arc? What you need, like plot, you need some overarching goal, and then you need the conclusion and the denouement and all that stuff, which then leads into the next story arc, right? So what is the goal of a Laughtale story arc? The goal of a Laughtale arc, shout outs, by the way, to my wallet dropping $50 saying Goku washes. I don't know what Goku has anything to do with One Piece, but thank you very much for your donation. Appreciate that. Nakama, thank you. Anyway, what would the goal of a Laughtale arc story arc be? The goal of the Laughtale arc would be to find the One Piece, correct? So where would that begin? Well, if we're in Elbaf and Elbaf's the info dump and Elbaf's setting up stuff, the technical beginning of a Laughtale arc is probably going to be on the island in which they discover the road to Laughtale. Because, again, they don't need to go to Roadstar Island. That's not a need. I would like to see Roadstar Island. I would like to see the end of the Grand Line. I would like to see where the final island of the log pose, or what the final island of the log pose is going to look like. I would love to see that stuff. I would love to see it. But we don't need to see it. Because as it was mentioned during Zoe, and especially if Oda's picking up the pacing, right? They don't need to go there. They know everything they need to know. That's where you're supposed to find out about the poneglyphs, and then you work your way backwards. If they already know about that, there's no reason to go back there unless somehow one of the final road poneglyphs is tied to Roadstar. Now, the assumption is that the final road poneglyph is not going to be there, right? The assumption is that one of the Yonko has it, or it's like, you know, I've seen some people talking about this. I don't necessarily agree with this, but I did a video on it before. The idea that maybe Captain John's treasure is one of the road poneglyphs, and we'll find out more about that with like Buggy and all that stuff. Maybe. But the assumption is that the final road poneglyph, well, it's not an assumption. This is something we know. We know we need to get the final road poneglyph before we get to Laughtale. We need this. Now, for the sake of the story, I could totally see them, especially because Nami's goal is to make a map of the world and everything. I could totally see them going to Roadstar Island because Nami wants to go there and Luffy wants to explore it. And the rest of the crew, like, what are you talking about? We got the final road poneglyph. We found out what we need to know in Elbaf. Why are we doing this right now? Like, we don't need to go there. We can go to Laughtale right now. And then Luffy and Nami are going to be the ones to be like, Nami's like, no, I need to make the map. And Luffy's going to be like, I want to see the world. Come on, like, I'm your captain. We're going to go there. And that's where they go. Now, again, I think that is the technical beginning, them going to Roadstar and then finding out whatever information is there and then eventually making their way to Laughtale. That is, in my opinion, going to be all parts of the Laughtale arc. Now, there is one big thing that I think needs to come into play, because this is the thing with any story, right? They're not going to randomly just show up on Roadstar if there's nothing there beyond, oh, Nami needs to put the island on her map and Luffy wanted to see it, right? Like, whenever Luffy wants to go to an island, there's always more to it than that. Now, think about Punk Hazard, right? Think about how they ended up on Punk Hazard. They were supposed to go to Dressrosa, and then Luffy was like, you know what? I want to see what that weird island's all about with the fire and ice. Let's go there. So they went there. My assumption is that Roadstar, especially because the Marines obviously are tracking all of this stuff, the world government's obviously tracking all this stuff, they're going to be aware of what happened in Wano country. They're most likely going to know they're going to be on their way to Elbaf, but they might not want to deal with the giants. I think someone's going to be keeping an eye on Luffy, and they're going to know that he's going to go to Roadstar Island. Maybe, considering who's with the character right now, and how this all ties in, and how this is something we need to know before the end of the series, what makes the most sense is that Vegapunk and Smoker and Tashigi and all those characters are then present and somehow tied in with the revelation of the Void Century and the greater information about the world at large. That is then where you introduce Vegapunk. Because if Vegapunk is present at Roadstar Island, bada bing, bada boom, 1-2 punch. It's not a pacing issue at all. It's not something where people would say it's rushed. It's a natural way to integrate them into an island that would otherwise be completely unnecessary, and brings along Smoker and Tashigi and some of the good Marines, maybe some of the members of Sword, all that kind of stuff, with Laughtale. It brings them along in a natural way where then they see the history of the world and truly what the world government is, and that is the switch flip for them. That is what forces Sword and maybe Fujitora and Drake and Kobe and all these characters to then side with Luffy and be like, you know what? No, world government's got to go down. We got to rip apart the Marines. This is not a good thing. We found out whatever the truth of the world was at Laughtale. We're doing this, right? Again, though, how could Smoker and Tashigi and Vegapunk and all those characters be present at Laughtale, right, if they don't have the road poneglyphs? They need to track down Luffy and the rest of them. They need to. They got to track them down. The natural way to have them get tracked down is if they know they're going to the end of the Grand Line and they need to get to the final island, wait for them at the final island. Bada bing, bada boom, right? So that's my thought process on that. So that is where I think Roadstar Island is coming into play, and why I think that's going to be the beginning of the second major story arc, or second to last major story arc of the series, which I think is going to be the Laughtale arc. And I think Laughtale is going to encompass a lot of information. Real quick, I'm going to read out a couple donations. Page 1 donated and said, I doubt Elbaf will be a small info dump arc since the Giants are portrayed to be warriors, so they need to fight. Oda could develop the crew in this arc. Moon arc could be an info dump. There were massive fights in Zou as well. We got Nekomamushi and Urashi versus Jack. Being a small arc does not necessarily negate like having massive fights. We could have massive fights in a smaller arc, for sure. Bellamy and Luffy was during Jaya, so that's fine. We could totally still get other arcs. Also, new member, thank you very much to Shushant for becoming a member. Nakama, thank you. All right. Anyway, moving on. So we got Roadstar Island leading to Laughtale. All part of one story arc. They get to Laughtale. Now, the big thing that everybody else is talking about, and the thing that I have been saying since like the early days of doing my channel, I think Blackbeard is the antagonist of Laughtale. I do. I think that's why I say Blackbeard is not the final antagonist of the series. I think Blackbeard is the antagonist of the Laughtale story arc, and that the antagonist of the final war, final arc, whatever, take down a world government, all that stuff, is going to be the world government itself. Because, again, we don't know what really Blackbeard wants to do. We don't know. Blackbeard is a weird enigma at this point. Blackbeard could go in a number of different directions. We don't really know what he wants to do outside of being the Pirate King and being a jerk, right? So, if that's the case, I totally could obviously see Blackbeard having someone trail Luffy and the rest of them, kind of like the Marines were trailing at Lodestar Island, all that stuff. I could see him then also following along and arriving at Laughtale, unbeknownst to Luffy and the rest of them, right? At a different part of the island. Maybe he sneaks his way around. Luffy shows up at Laughtale. Blackbeard discovers what the truth of the world is alongside Luffy, and then goes, "Zaya!" Like, I want the world to stay as it is. I'm powerful. I'm not here for all this, like, taking down the government or whatever. That's not my goal, whatever. And that is where Blackbeard comes into play and why the two of them have their clash at Laughtale. Now, the other important thing that I think needs to happen. Oh, Ash the Stampede, by the way, I think he's about to mention what I was about to say, donated $100 and said, speaking of needs for Laughtale, do you think there needs to be a major temporal-based decision, given that Roger said they were too early at the One Piece? I'm going to read that again. Do you think there needs to be a major temporal-based decision, given that Roger said they were too early at the One Piece? Also, I got to dance to your donation. Thank you very much for your donation, Ash. Greatly appreciate that. Now. And I know people are talking about King and all these other characters in Wano. This is endgame stuff, all right? We're talking about endgame stuff. We're not talking about commanders of Kaido's crew. We're talking about the endgame right now, okay? Now, endgame. They're at Laughtale. I am assuming if Blackbeard is the major antagonist of Laughtale in my presumed ending breakdown of the arcs within the final saga, if Blackbeard is the primary antagonist of Laughtale and is going to be dealt with at Laughtale, there's one other character that isn't most likely going to show up, needs to show up in some capacity before dealing with Blackbeard. Needs to. And that character, which then goes in line with everything else that's been teased and talked about and all this stuff, is Shanks. Shanks needs to come up whenever Blackbeard comes up. Now, my assumption, and I know a lot of people disagree with this. Wait, what is King of Lightning? What did King of Lightning say? King of Lightning's laughing in the chat. What's King saying? Hold on. We got Fan Talk. Wait, we got a lot of people in here. Fan Talk and Brago and King of Lightning. We got the squad in here today. Hold on. What did King say? I want to see what he said in the chat. My chat's going so fast that I couldn't see what he said. What did he say? I'll read it out later. Whatever. I'll read it out later. It's fine. Anyway. When Blackbeard... This is a fun stream. I really do like this. I'm glad I decided to do this as a stream. This is way more fun. I feel like, you know who I feel like right now? I feel like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the giant board where he's connecting all the dots and he's like, theory, speculation. That's how I feel right now. All right. Anyway. Moody. I'll get to whatever King said later. Shanks needs to be there whenever Blackbeard is dealt with. Or, at the very least, needs to be involved in the story before the downfall of Blackbeard. And my personal assumption, and we're going to discuss all this in the Reverie. We will, don't you worry. Reverie's next month. That's why I wanted to do this by myself first, to get all my thoughts out there. All right. My assumption is that... Hold on, I'm losing my train of thought. I feel like Ty right now. Hold on. Loop it back again. Rewind. Moody. All right. My assumption, and I've said this before, is that Shanks will die before the end of One Piece. I think Shanks is going to die. My other assumption, which I've done multiple videos on at this point, is that Shanks will die at the hands of Blackbeard. because of all the story ties with them together, Shanks knowing the young Blackbeard, as we saw during the Oden flashback, all that stuff, right? God Valley, everything like that. He is aware of what Blackbeard truly is. And my assumption is that Shanks, when he was talking to the Gorosei, when he mentioned, oh, there's a pirate I gotta talk to you about, my assumption, much like Artur in those Return to Reverie chapters, all that stuff, my assumption is that Shanks was talking about Blackbeard, and that the world government's not going to do anything about it, and that Shanks is going to want to track down and take down Blackbeard before something really, really bad happens. Which then again, naturally, ties him into the story if Blackbeard is tracking Luffy, and the Marines are tracking Luffy, and Vegapunk is there in Lodestar Island, and then you've got, the info dump of Elbaf and all the characters, and you've got the Grand Fleet and the Allies and the Straw Hats and everybody, they're all there, they're all on their way, they all make their place at Laughtale. They're there, they are present. If Blackbeard can track Luffy, Shanks will track Blackbeard. And again, we don't know how much Shanks knows about where Laughtale is. We don't know. This has never been clarified, really. We know that he didn't go with them because he chilled with his boyfriend Buggy. So we know that, all right? We know that Shanks and Buggy didn't go to Laughtale. But we don't know if they don't know what Laughtale is. Like, Rayleigh, during Sabaody, seemed very likely and very eager to be like, you want to know what the One Piece is? Let me tell you, buddy. And then Luffy was the one who was like, no. I don't know any of this stuff. I don't want to know this. I want to figure this out on my own, right? Who's to say that Shanks and Buggy didn't ask Rayleigh, yo, what'd you guys find out? And then he just told them. He probably did. And probably, most likely, whatever it was, Buggy didn't really care about. Buggy wants treasure, right? That's a big reason why we haven't seen Buggy. He's sort of like falling his way into the top, right? But Buggy's not in it for like the Void Century or what the world truly is. He didn't care about any of that stuff. Buggy didn't care about any of that. He cares about treasure. He's a goofball, all right? If he discovered what the One Piece was, and Shanks discovered what the One Piece was, and they have no interest in going after it, right? They're just like interested in maintaining the status quo, and they want to be rich, sure, do whatever, explore the seas, they could do that. That's fine. However, if Blackbeard is going and tracking Luffy, and Shanks wants to track Blackbeard, and Blackbeard's trying to kill Luffy, it's done. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Now, obviously, Shanks wants Luffy to be his own man. But Shanks, in my opinion, will not let Luffy die. There's no way. He's not going to let Luffy die. He won't. He won't let Luffy die. I do not believe... I mean, he ended up at the end of the war, right? He showed up at the end of the war. I don't think if Blackbeard is about to kill Luffy, that Shanks would let Luffy die. So, what better way to then reveal... And again, this is all my assumption. I see Brago donated and said peak fiction. Again, this is just assumptions. This is not me saying what needs to happen at the end of the series. That's why I'm clarifying my ideas against what needs to happen. Again, I've only brought up a couple things that need to happen. Shanks need to be present in some form whenever we see Blackbeard, right? Whatever that Blackbeard confrontation is, Shanks needs to be present or part of it in some way. That's a need. Big Mom, backstory information, Elbaf, that's a need. Usopp going to Elbaf, that's a need. And then most likely, it's a need. They got to get to Laughtale, so that's a need too. Everything else, it's fiction. Agreed. I will continue. Let me continue. So, my assumption, and it doesn't have to break out in this way, but my assumption is that Blackbeard and Luffy are fighting in Laughtale. They discover what the One Piece is, right? Blackbeard has no interest in it. He wants to maintain the status quo. Luffy and maybe some of the Sword Marines who track them all down and all the other allies of Luffy, everybody who's there and present in Laughtale, everybody, goes along with Luffy, and Luffy's like, we want to break down the world government. We want to, create the all blue, whatever the reveal is, right? They're there, and they want to stop the status quo. And that's going to be them butting heads. Blackbeard, at this point, I'm assuming has multiple devil fruits, more than 2, probably 3, most likely Kaido's. That's a whole nother discussion of when he would get that, whatever. We'll talk about that later. Blackbeard is supremely overpowered at this point, right? It looks like Blackbeard is going to kill Luffy. It looks like he's going to kill Luffy. And that's when we make the discovery that Shanks was following Blackbeard this whole time. And Shanks, much like when he stepped into Marineford and he stopped Akainu from killing Kobe, imagine that scene, right? But instead of Akainu, imagine Blackbeard. Imagine Shanks exactly where he was in that scene. And then imagine Luffy where Kobe is. And that Luffy obviously is powerful. But Luffy at this point, maybe he's used Gear 4, all his other techniques, whatever. He's there. And Shanks, when he steps in, tanks whatever the attack was that was going to kill Luffy that Blackbeard was going to do. Kills Shanks there. And causes Luffy to go ballistic because he can't give the straw hat back. And that ultimately is what sends Luffy off. We see a massive power jump, whatever, right? Takes down Blackbeard, or at least like attacks him enough to be able to escape or whatever. But they are able to, at the very least, subdue Blackbeard a little bit, right? Maybe not kill him in Laughtale, but subdue him, which then brings us to the final story arc of the final story saga. Now again, mini arcs could be thrown in here at any point, right? A mini arc could be thrown between Roadstar Island and Laughtale. Roadstar could be a mini arc in and of itself. There could be an arc in between, Elbaf and Roadstar, but Elbaf is the other big one. Laughtale's the big one, like I mentioned. And the last one is the final war. That's the last really big story arc where everybody's involved. We now know what the One Piece is. Status quo needs to be broken. Everybody's going to war, right? Fausto says, this sounds cliche. Well, you're reading One Piece, so there you go. All right, so anyway, here we go. I mean, literally, what is One Piece but a bunch of cliches? That's what it is. I love One Piece. I love it. I adore One Piece. But let's not lie to ourselves, all right? A lot of the One Piece story arcs are based off of other existing things, all right? It is what it is. If it sounds cliche, also it's a shonen. You got to remember, too, it's a shonen in Shueisha. So you got to keep all that in mind, right? Anyways. All right. Moving on. We get to that final story arc, right? And again, this is all just assumptions. I'm not saying all this stuff needs to happen. I'm sure Oda will have some awesome, cool thing to do that, like, makes all this just seem like, oh, this is child's play, right? He's going to watch the stream and say, oh, these are little pirate games, right, that Roger's coming up with. These are little pirate games. Wait until you see what I got in store for the final arc. Maybe. All right. But anyway, final story arc. So, final story arc, final war, in my opinion, is the return to Marijoa. It's the return to the Grand Line. It's implementing all the ancient weapons. It's implementing all the stuff that we've learned about One Piece up to this point. All that stuff. That all comes into play during the final war. Everything that we learned up to this point, that is the motivation for them going into the final conflict of the final story arc. In my opinion, that's what I think is going to happen, right? So, what does that entail? Well, that entails the admirals, right? That entails Garp. That entails basically what the Void Century was and how Marijoa ended up where it was, what the Celestial Dragons are, which we'll probably find out, again, more of during the Laughtale story arc. Everything. Like, the moment that the final war that Oda's been hyping up after all this time and the thing that Dofi's been alluding to, all this stuff, that's this. That's all this. That all culminates in whatever the fight is going to be back at the return to Marijoa, where they either destroy the Red Line or, at the very least, they take down the Marines as they are. And then that sets up into, okay, well, what are these fights going to be, right, during this final war? And the fact of the matter is, I think this is something that's not even, like, really fun to predict, because I feel like every present character, or every character that has been in the story up to this point, will be, that's alive. That'll clarify, that's alive. Every character up to this point in the story, which is the final story arc, that is alive, will be present in that final war. That entails revolutionaries. That's also probably where the revolutionaries are going to come in into play, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, because, I'll talk about that now, right? Because the revolutionaries, obviously, were present during the Reverie. Something happened to Sabo. We don't know what happened to Sabo, but something happened to Sabo, and the revolutionaries are not going to stand for it. And I guarantee you, whatever the reveal is at Laughtale, the revolutionaries are going to side with Luffy. Because in some way, it's going to involve taking down the world government as it is right now. It is. There's no if or buts about it. That's going to happen. So, knowing the revolutionaries will be alongside Luffy in taking down the government, all this stuff, what are these fights going to look like? What are these matchups going to be? Who are going to be the people who get the one-on-one fights near the very ending? And that is honestly a really difficult question to answer. And again, it's hard for me to even like predict because I feel like every character is going to be there. I think minor characters are going to be involved in this final arc. Like real minor characters. I just knocked my green screen. But like really minor characters. Like people you're never expecting to see again. Like I think Foxy comes back during the final arc. I think Eneru comes back during the final arc. I think everybody comes back during, like Gaimon even. I'm seeing people saying Gaimon in the chat. I think Gaimon's coming back in the final arc. I think everybody's coming back. Also, shout out to my 2 new members. We got Justin Dickinson in here, and we got C-Paw in here. Thank you to both of you guys. Nakama, greatly appreciate that. Okay, so they're all there, right? Every character's there and present in that final story arc. Well then, let me give you my idea of what fights need to happen, which is what I've been doing throughout this whole stream. Again, I've been, throwing out a bunch of different theories and ideas for the end of the story, all this stuff. But I want to, once again, break things down. I want to break things down into what fights I believe personally need to happen by the end of the story, okay? One fight that I think needs to happen, and I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me or disagree with me or whatever. You guys are saying everyone is here Nintendo style? Exactly, bro. Everyone is here. That's final arc. Everyone is here. Final war, final arc, everyone is here. A fight that I personally believe needs to happen is Sabo versus Akainu. That's what I think needs to happen. Now, a lot of people think Luffy needs to be the one that beats Akainu. Here's genuinely what I believe, okay? What I believe is that Luffy is never going to kill anyone in all of One Piece. He is never going to kill anyone. That does not mean that his associates and his allies can't kill people in that final war. I think Luffy's all about, I'm going to kick their ass, I'm going to beat them up. But he never says, I'm going to kill that person. And even when he says, I'm going to kill that person, it's like he goes along with it because somebody else says he's going to kill somebody. So all these people are like, yo, Luffy's going to kill. No, he's not going to kill anybody, bro. He's not killing anybody. He's not. But his associates will. Absolutely, positively kill people. And what I think, and again, this is just my assumption, is that, okay, well, if Luffy can't kill Akainu, but Akainu needs to die by the end of the story, the best character to kill him, to enact his revenge, to have that moment where he couldn't be there during Marineford and Ace died and ate him up after all these years. That character is Sabo, right? It's Sabo. It's showing that the Mera no Mi, right, the will of Ace, lived on through all these years, and it's showing to Akainu that it doesn't matter if you have a weaker devil fruit. If your resolve is stronger, and Sabo's got the Revolutionary Army behind him, and Luffy and all these characters behind him, all this, people are saying that's too cliche. If you think that's too cliche, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Again, this is One Piece we're talking about. There are some very basic fights that are going to happen, all right? Sabo and Akainu will need to scuffle at some point, final war. It's going to happen. If that doesn't happen, that's literally just bad writing. That's bad writing on Oda's part. There's no reason for the way that everything's been paralleled and set up for them not to at least interact by the ending. There's no way. So it is what it is. By the way, shout out to Nordic Smokes, by the way, for becoming a member. Nakama, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And again, I'm not saying all my ideas need to be fact at all. Please, get that out of your head. I don't know why there's so many One Piece fans who think when people share subjective theories that we're saying that it's objective fact. It's not. I don't know if you didn't take reading comprehensions in school or whatever, but I don't know what it was. But when people are giving theories, they are just that. Do not take not a sliver of what I said. Even when I said something needs to happen, do not take any of this that seriously. Please, I beg of you, do not do it, all right? I am a lowly theorist on YouTube. Wait, why did my chat just disconnect? Hold on. Chat just disconnected. Wait a minute. Did the stream just get taken down? Hold on a minute. Was the stream too powerful? Wait a minute. Let me refresh the chat real quick. My Chrome's going off. Everything's going crazy. All right, hold on. Chrome's back. Unable to connect to chat. Hello? Refresh the chat. Let's do this again. We're going to refresh. What's going on here? Refresh. Why is this not working? Hold on. I'm going to double check on here. Let me look on here. I was just getting into the good stuff too. Hold on. Let me see this. We here. We're good. I don't know why it's not showing up on stream. Let me just type in RogersBase. Let me get the pop-out chat URL. Let me make sure that everything's okay. All right, pop-out chat URL. We're here. We're good. Everyone's here. Perfect. Everyone's here just like the final war. This is a hype stream, though. I can already feel myself losing my voice. All right, hold on. Chat box. Let's go. Come on. Don't fail me now right now. Come on. I'm getting into the good stuff. Come on. Custom YouTube chat. Come on. Here we go. Boom. Done. Okay, plug that baby in there. On and off. Reconnect. Properties. Refresh browser. Refresh cache. All right, people, say something in the chat. Hopefully that'll work. If not, I don't know what's going to happen. I might have to have it open another tab or something. But anyway, here we are. We're good? Zoro Mihawk, World Government, Sanji Kizaru. Wait. We got a lot of stuff to get to. Hold on. We're not there yet. Hold on. We're not there yet. There we go. All right, Chrome. Here we are. We're good. You guys are saying, Dan, you have like 3,000 subscribers. I know. I got a lot of viewers in here right now because this is important stuff that we're talking about. All right. We're back. Hopefully the chat will come back. I might just have to turn on the regular chat, like the regular chat box. Hold on. Let me see this. Refresh. I like having you guys on screen while I'm talking about all this. I think it adds to the drama of everything. I just don't know why the chat isn't popping in. Hold on. Give me a sec. I can't do this without this. Pop out chat. Copy. Some of you guys in the chat are saying no chat. You don't want the chat on screen? Why? I love the chat. All right, here we go. Custom YouTube chat. Chat box off. Properties. Last chance. Or I could just have the chat on screen like this. I could just do this. Nope. You know what? That's what we're going to do. We're just going to do this. We're doing this. I don't know why there's a picture of a burger, but you know what? That's fine. Somehow that seems fitting for this stream. So you guys can actually still see the chat. We're good. All right. Whatever. That's fine. You guys... Oh, I closed Chrome, though. I closed Chrome. All right. Let me do this one more time. Then we'll get back to it. Hold on. Just stick with me. Technical difficulties. I'm sorry about all that. All right. Anyway. All right. We're back. We're Gucci. We're good. All right? We're good. Now, let's just go back to what I was talking about before. Sabo Akainu. Fight that needs to happen. Sabo, utilizing hockey, best of his abilities, all that stuff. Thank you, by the way, to Malcolm Dean for super chatting and saying, what is this? I hate to say it, Roger, and I hope I'm wrong, but I have zero confidence in Oda not skipping that fight and many others we need to see. He has to prove me wrong during Wano fights. Oh. So that's how you really feel, Malcolm. Also, you know what I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something real quick. Hold on. We're going to make my webcam a little bigger. Here you go. There we are. That's better. I'm like, if I don't have a chat at the very least, you guys can see my face in its full glory. All right, excellent. Oh, man, I'm missing a lot of donations, by the way, and I apologize. I'll read them all out by the end of the stream. Drive Ice came through and said I should be editing the wiki with everything you say as fact. Dang. Please don't do that, Drive Ice. Please don't do that. Thank you to Mohammed for becoming a member. Nakama, thank you. Thank you to Nordic Smokes for saying this has been a great stream, Roger. I'm all for Sabo Akainu, but let's be honest, Sabo's going to need some next-level hockey to even attempt to fight him. The Devil Fruit strength difference is too great. I'll get to that in a little bit. Norv just became a member. Nakama, thank you, Norv. And thank you to Prince Ali saying the whole that's cliche thing people bring up is one of the weakest issues they complain about when it comes to storytelling, especially when it comes to shonen, anime, and manga. Preach. Absolutely. All right. Moving on. Sabo Akainu. Last little thing I want to say about this before I move into some of the other fights that I think needs to happen. All right. The other big reason I think Sabo needs to fight Akainu and show that it doesn't matter if his Devil Fruit is weaker than Akainu's Devil Fruit is to showcase whatever hockey greatness Sabo has waiting in the wings. Because again, we know Sabo's very strong. He's the second in command. He's the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army. Sabo is no pushover. We already know at this point Sabo's stronger than Ace ever was, right? Well, I guess we don't know that for a fact. And I know Power Scaler is going to go off on me. But one can assume one can assume that Sabo is stronger now than Ace was during Marineford. I have to look at the chat for this, actually, because I think a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me on this, but we're going to see. Let's see this. Hold on. While I'm reading the chat and while it gets to you guys, Ash the Stampede said, final theory, there are 8 seas and oceans. Oda likes his puns. One Piece is a decision to make one piece of 8. Okay. I don't know what that means. One piece of 8? Like one piece of 8 what? I don't get that. I don't get it. Thank you for your donation, but I don't understand what that means. How much have I missed? A lot. You've missed a lot. Wait, what are you guys saying? We're past Blackbeard already? We talked about Blackbeard. I have to put the chat up here like this because I need to be able to read what you guys are saying and check with donations. This is the most frustrating thing that Streamlabs just went out on me midway through the stream. The stream was just too powerful. That's it. They don't know how to deal with all of you. Oh, I'm super stupid. I could always just do this. Now I can see the chat on stream. I'm so dumb. Why didn't I do that earlier? All right. Moving on. All right. Moving on. Beyond Sabo and Akainu, I think another thing we probably need to see by the end of that final war is we need to see the death of other major villains that did not get their chance to sort of shine or need to have their stories resolved by the end of the series. And now, again, I'm not clarifying what exactly that fight is, but I think, for example, I cannot imagine a world in which Doflamingo survives the end of One Piece. I don't know. Doflamingo's done too many bad things, has gone against too many people, has double-crossed too many people. I cannot imagine a world in which Doflamingo survives the end of One Piece. Now, it makes no sense whatsoever to me that Doflamingo is going to follow Luffy or something, because he's an Impel Down right now, and that we would even see Doflamingo until this final war because he's an Impel Down. So if they're going back to the final war and all this stuff takes place in Marijoa, that would be the time for all the other people who are in Impel Down to sort of show up. I don't know what that joke was. The final Laughtale, 1 of 8. I don't even know what that means. What is that referring to? Someone's got to explain that to me. Somebody explain what that means, because I don't know what that means. Anyway, Indigo84 just said, Roger, Sphinx Island is most likely the resting place of the final road poneglyph. Sphinx Island? What? What? We don't need to see Elbaf. That can be Usopp's solo journey post-main story. All right. Abram said, plot twist. Everyone is gathered up at Laughtale. Emu appears and ignites an enormous Nikyo no Mi power that sends everyone back to their beginning. Luffy here gets sent back to the East Blue. You think Luffy's going to get sent back to the East Blue by the end of the story? I don't know all that. Pieces of 8, it's a pirate thing? Oh, it's a pirate thing. Oh. Pirates of the Caribbean, 9 pieces of 8. It's a coin. Oh, the coin? What? You mean the coin from like the Pirates of the Caribbean movie where Jack Sparrow, like he puts the thing back in and it was the pirate's curse and then he kills Barbossa? Is that what you guys are referring to? All right, you guys are going way off the rails. Let's reel this back in. I know I've gone off the rails a bunch. Let's reel all this back in. Let's reel all this back in a little bit. Let's talk about some of these other things that need to happen during the people are laughing at me in the chat. It just went all over the place. It went all over the place, and it just went above my head, and I don't get it. All right, so there you go. Anyway, final arc. Everybody's present. Throne War. Final War. Whatever you want to call it. Takedown of the Marines. All right. At this point, I am assuming, again, this doesn't have to happen, but I'm assuming the Marines that are going to go against the status quo of the world government will have all shown their true nature by this final arc. Which means Fujitora, now on the side of Luffy, revolutionaries, whatever. Fujitora, I know Mugiwara Met B or Bensei or whatever he goes by now, I know he agrees with me. Fujitora, by end of story, is going to be alongside the revolutionaries. He's going to be. I know he agrees with me. I shouldn't say he's going to be. In my opinion, he's going to be. Okay. Fujitora, take him out of the equation. Take him out of the equation. He doesn't need to have a fight. He doesn't need to be one of the admirals they take down. Kizaru kind of might need to be. Kuzan, if he's leading sword, as a lot of people are theorizing, right? is on the side of the good guys as well. So Kuzan, Fujitora, don't matter. They're on the side of the good guys, right? So they're with the Straw Hats, they're all that stuff. Okay. So Akainu needs to be dealt with, which I brought up, Sabo. Kizaru probably needs to be dealt with, and Green Bull needs to be dealt with. Now, the thing about Green Bull is that Green Bull we don't know anything about at all. And again, we're theorizing that Kuzan is part of Sword. We don't know any of that for a fact at all. We don't know that. We're theorizing that he could be part of Sword. Green Bull, we literally don't even know a smidgen about. Maybe Green Bull's part of Sword. Who knows? But let's, for the sake of argument, for the sake of these final fights, let's assume Green Bull is on the bad side of the Marines after all of this, right? Who is Green Bull's opponent going to be? That, honestly, I have no idea. Couldn't even begin to speculate because, again, we don't know anything about Green Bull at this point. Maybe it's going to be one of the other admirals. I think that would be hype. If you got Kuzan and Fujitora on the side of the good guys, and you've got Kizaru and Green Bull on the side of the bad guys, and you've got Akainu in charge of all of them, and Sabo's fighting Akainu, maybe that's it. Like, maybe that's it. Maybe we literally just explained what those fights are. And that we don't get Admiral fights. Because maybe that would be cliche to have Luffy fight all the Admirals or the Straw Hats fight the Admirals 1v1. And that goes back to what you guys are saying in the chat. You don't want it to be too cliche. Well, then fine. Make it an internal struggle. Make it Sword versus the world government. Make it Green Bull versus Fujitora. Kizaru versus Kuzan. And Sabo versus Akainu. That solves everything. That'd be hype. I would love to see that. That would be great. Then, that also frees things up for the supernovas, right? Because you've got Zoro, and so many of the supernovas are already present in Wano country as it is, right? You've got Zoro, you've got Killer, you've got Kid, you've got Law, you've got Drake, Hawkins, Apu, Luffy. They're all there in Wano. They're all there. If they're all present in Wano country, and they don't die in Wano country, if they survive, because they're supernovas, just because of like what they mean for the story of One Piece, they're probably going to make it to that final arc, to whatever that final war is going to be, post Laughtale arc, post Elbaf, post whatever the smaller little story arcs are going to be in between, if we get any. And again, keep in mind, this is all still within that 5-year time span that I set up earlier. How I said there's going to be 5 years, and you think about it, Zoe to where we are now, that was 5 years. This is all very feasible within 5 years. Very feasible, especially if Elbaf and Laughtale are massive info dumps. Very feasible. Shout out to everybody saying love you, Roger. Greatly appreciate that. You guys are very nice. I can't believe all the viewers we have in here right now still. I feel like a madman just ranting, talking about all my ideas for the end of One Piece, but this is great. Also, people keep saying King of Lightning. Where is King in the chat? I don't even see King of Lightning in here. Where is he? I know King's a mod. I know Brago's a mod too. Oh, wait. Oh, that's not real King of Lightning. That's not real King of Lightning. That's fake King of Lightning. That's fake King of Lightning saying Green Bull versus Robin, let it happen. That's not the real King of Lightning. Real King of Lightning would have the check mark, or he'd have the little mod status next to his name. All right. So now that we got that out of the way. All right. The other supernova that we haven't talked about, which probably will have to be present in that final arc, which is sort of like what I want to discuss right now, who also probably has like the same thing in mind that the revolutionaries have in mind, which was set up in the Return to Reverie like fan chapters, is Bonnie, right? We don't know what is up with Bonnie. Bonnie is, again, like Green Bull, a complete enigma. We know she's important to the world government. We know she's got a crazy devil fruit. But that's kind of it. Thank you, by the way, to Oreo Crunch saying, I think I'm going to cry if I don't get a Sanji Kuzan fight. You and everybody else. I think a lot of people are going to feel that way. Speaking of Sword, will we need to see the full reveal of members of Sword, or will we get it in Wano? I think that can happen at any time from where we are right now to this final arc. I think it can happen literally at any time. It can happen when we see Vegapunk, maybe on Roadstar Island. It can happen after Wano Country. It can happen at literally any time. Shout out to Alexander, by the way, for becoming a member. Nakama, greatly appreciate that. Thank you for coming through. You're the best. Anyway, what if they just die to be the ending? Maybe. I mean, maybe they all just die. Maybe. But I don't think they're all going to die. I think they're all going to be present in the final war. And I think Bonnie is going to be important to the world government. And I think Bonnie will also be sort of alongside the revolutionaries by the ending if they both want to help Kuma. And then that is what it is, right? So that's where Bonnie plays amongst the rest of that final arc, that final war. Bonnie's with the revolutionaries. Let's just assume that for now. There's one other major supernova, which again goes back to all the stuff I was saying, which is that everyone is here, everyone's got to be present for this final war. There's one major supernova we have not touched on. And Capone obviously has been involved with Whole Cake, so we're not talking about Capone either. Uh-oh, I'm going out of focus? Wait a minute. I'm blurry? Hold on a minute. I just got out of focus. Let me adjust. Hold on. Whoop. Let's try this again. The stream's getting too powerful. All right. I'm back in focus. We're good. Okay. We're good. The last major supernova that we've not talked about that would most likely need to be present in this final arc, final war, whatever, who has a tie to somebody that we have not seen in the story since, is Uruj. Ma, Di, Monk, Mad, Monk, Urujt. That needs to happen. We need to see some, well, not doesn't need to, but most likely should happen. We need to see should see a reunion between Uruj and Eneru. Camera's back in focus. There we go. Exactly. Now, when realistically would that happen? Maybe during a moon arc. Maybe that's when Uruj comes into play. Maybe there's a moon mini arc amidst all the stuff that I'm bringing up with Elbaf and Laughtale and the final war being the major 3 arcs within the final saga and then other little smaller arcs. Maybe there's a moon arc. Maybe it becomes involved in some way. However, still goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think Uruj, because he's a supernova, needs to be present in that final war. And I think most likely, if Eneru's finding out stuff about the moon, or the moon has an importance to the will of D, however the moon comes into play, however we find out like the importance of the moon during Laughtale, that is how Eneru, or that will determine if Eneru is going to be there in the final war. Does that make sense? I think that kind of makes sense. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you guys. So that's where I think all the supernovas are going to come into play. Which then leaves the fights for Luffy and the main Straw Hats. And that is when I agree with you guys. I don't think it's going to be cliche at all by the end of the story. I think that is going to be when some really crazy things happen that nobody expects. I don't necessarily think we're going to get fights against the Gorosei. I don't. I think we might get fights against Cypherpole. I think we might get fights against Emu. We really don't know. We really don't know. So much of the end of the final arc, or Marijoa and all this stuff, is just completely shrouded in mystery. We don't honestly know. But what I do know, or at least what I feel very strongly about, is that Luffy's confrontations during this final war will not be as cut and dry as we all think. I think he's going to do he's going to have a lot of small, unique fights, and then one major fight near the ending. But by this point in the story, if he's discovered Laughtale, if Blackbeard's already been taken down, if they know the truth of the world and really it's everybody against the world government, he is already Pirate King then, in all but title, by this point in the story. Correct? That's his stance in the story if everything has happened that I've already brought up. So really all that matters at that point is you take down the world government, you create this world that's free, the all blue, whatever, and Luffy reigns as Pirate King. And that's it. And then following that final war, we get a little bit of an epilogue. We get some stuff maybe finding out where the Straw Hats are going to go, or them achieving their goals, all that stuff. The only other thing that I feel like I need to bring up in terms of the Straw Hats and fights that need to happen is Zoro. Zoro versus Mihawk, right? Zoro at some point needs to become the world's greatest swordman. Everything, all the other dreams of all the other Straw Hats, Robin, reading the Rio Poneglyph, that's going to happen to get to Laughtale, right? Nami creating the map, that's going to happen when they go to Roadstar Island, right? Usopp becoming a great warrior, that's Elbaf. Sanji, all blue, that's going to be probably whatever the One Piece is, right? It's creating the all blue. Sure. So Sanji. Jinbei, having all the fishmen live on the surface with the regular people and having everybody live together as one. His goal, taken care of. We're good. Brook, wanting to see Laboon again. Well, guess what? Laboon's on the other side of Reverse Mountain. So when you take down Reverse Mountain and you break the Grand Line or the Red Line or whatever, when you destroy the Red Line, who's there waiting at the ending? Laboon. There's Brook. There's his story. It all comes to conclusion. The only one of the Straw Hats that even if we're taking, hold on, let me back up a little bit. Even if we're assuming that Yamato and Carrot and stuff join the crew, even if we take that into consideration, Carrot's would just be to explore and help the Minks or whatever. Yamato is to be like Oden, right? Yamato's goal is to be like Oden, to travel alongside the future Pirate King and discover what's happening in Laughtale. That goal gets achieved at Laughtale. So even taking into consideration upcoming future Straw Hats, if there are going to be any at all, the only one whose dream requires a fight is Zoro. That's the only one. Again, we talk about musts on this stream a lot. A must is Zoro versus Mihawk. It's a must. If there is some way in which Zoro does not fight Mihawk by the end of the series, or, because this is always a possibility too, if Mihawk gets killed by Shiyu, and Zoro then has to fight Shiyu or something ludicrous like that, whatever. But regardless, Zoro versus the greatest swordsman in the world, right? Zoro versus the greatest swordsman in the world has to happen. Also, I'm seeing people bringing up Frankie and Vegapunk. No. Frankie and Vegapunk is not a required fight, all right? Frankie's all about technology. He is absolutely positively not. You don't have to have a fight with Frankie and Vegapunk. Doesn't have to happen, right? It doesn't have to happen. They need to meet, and that fulfills that portion of his dream, but they don't need to fight. They don't. He needs to study the stuff that Vegapunk did. They don't need to fight. And Chopper's dream is to cure any illness. Well, guess what? There's a lot of sick people in One Piece. He can cure Big Mom's illness, where she's having those hunger pangs. He can cure, I don't know, whatever. Anybody who's sick in One Piece, Chopper can show that off at any point. That does not require a fight. We're not going to have a moment where Chopper's like, in order to become the world's greatest doctor, I need to fight Doc Q of Blackbeard's crew. That is not going to happen. Not going to happen. That does not require a fight. Zoro versus Mihawk, or the greatest swordsman in the world, to become the greatest swordsman, needs to happen. And the most likely place for that to happen would be during a skirmish in which all of the swordsmen of the world are gathered there because it's the final war and everyone is here. That's when Zoro versus Mihawk happens. It happens amidst the final war. And Mihawk commends Zoro or something, saying, amazing how much you've grown, whatever. But I also kind of feel like Mihawk would be on the side of the good guys. Or maybe, I don't know. But regardless, that's a fight that's got to happen. I freaked myself out because I just thought of a worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, I don't even want to speak this in existence because if this happens, a lot of you guys are going to be upset. I need to take a sip of water before I say this. Okay. I did it. Worst case scenario is that Mihawk is on the side of Luffy and Zoro and everybody else in that final war. Worst case scenario, Zoro versus Mihawk is off-screened following the final confrontation. That's the worst case scenario. And they just skip the Mihawk fight altogether. And that's something that even though it's the dream of Zoro's, we still get to see him achieve it. Technically, that's worst case. Worst case, that fight gets skipped. But I think Oda knows that's, again, one of those fights that needs to happen. It's like a Sabo versus Akainu. It's a scuffle that needs to happen by the end of the series, so I think it's going to happen. All right, so let's say that too. I think it's going to happen. Zoro versus Mihawk, I think it's going to happen during Final War. All right, so then there you have it. You got the Supernovas. We talked about them. We talked about the Admirals. We talked about Akainu. We talked about how the Gorosei and Imu are a mystery, so I'm not even going to get into that. We talked about how Luffy's main opponent during Laughtale is going to be Blackbeard, and then maybe some like Imu or whatever near the end of the story, but multiple minor confrontations during the final war. Luffy taking down maybe Lucci again, or Crocodile, or whatever. Like all these other characters, right? Luffy's going to have a lot of fights in this final war. But primarily, the two big ones are Sabo Akainu, Zoro Mihawk, and then the Admirals, and that's it. Everyone just got to the point where I said Mihawk and Zoro might get off screen. Impossible. That's what I'm saying. Worst case scenario. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't even want to speak it into existence. I have faith that Oda will deliver, okay? I have faith he will deliver. But who knows? We talked about the Straw Hats and all their dreams being fulfilled by the ending. We talked about all that, about the timeline for all that. So then literally all that's left is the epilogue, which I brought up a little earlier, right? All that's left is to see these Straw Hat characters, where they are 5-10 years from now, right? And that could be any number of things. It could be what the new government is going to look like, right? With maybe the people from Sword who sided with Luffy in the final war, creating this new government, because you can't have no Marines, right? Well, maybe you can't. I don't know. A world without Marines? I kind of feel like the people the people of the world will need to be eased into it a little bit. I think there's going to be a new Marines. But I think the new Marines are going to be like good guys who see obviously that the way of the old guard was the wrong way. And maybe Kobe rules over them or whatever. And we see that in the time skip. And Smoker and Fujitora, all the good guy Marines that are still alive after the final war, they create the new Marines, right? One character, wait, I completely didn't talk about this character. Also, shout-outs to Dry Vice saying, I think the fight will be shown, but I think it'll be after the final war, during the After Effects mini-arc that I foresee happening. So what I'm talking about right now, the epilogue. Maybe. Also, Arthur says, do you think Shinobu will mature Momo so she'll be able to transform into a giant dragon and fight Kaido in this form? A Belgian fan. I don't think her power works like that. Her power is not like, what's the girl with the aging power in Film Z? Or like Bonnie's power. Her power doesn't work like that. Her power is like the rot fruit. So it like makes things older, but like you wouldn't want Shinobu to use that power on Momo because it would turn him into a rotting corpse of a dragon. So you don't want that, right? You don't want that. Thank you for the donation regardless though. Okay. Anyway, we get that epilogue arc. We see what happened with all the Straw Hats. We see the new Marines. And then eventually we see Luffy. And either Luffy, once again repeating that very first chapter with Roger, smiling at his death because Kobe realizes that even though Luffy was responsible for everything, and that because of Luffy leading the charge during that final war, now the new Marines were put in place, and the new government was set up, and now everybody can live happily, and they could all live freely. But Kobe, it's like a situation like with Garp and with Roger, it's just one of those things where it's like, I gotta bring you in. It is what it is. The world needs this. Somebody needs to take the blame. It's gonna have to be you, buddy. And then it ends up being Luffy. But maybe Kobe allows Luffy to explore the rest of the world and then die happily at his execution or something. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not even going to speculate into it because I think that's a whole other topic for a different discussion. But I think that could be something that happens at the end of the story arc. Is I think I could see Luffy dying during that epilogue arc, or I could see Luffy living happily and being the Pirate King alongside Pirate Queen Vivi or something. I don't know. But like happily ever after is going to happen one way or the other during the epilogue arc, and then that's it. And then One Piece is over. So, again, let's break this all down. Elbaf, Laughtale, potentially mini-arc Roadstar Island, in between Elbaf and Laughtale. Final war arc, epilogue arc. That's 5 story arcs right there. 5 story arcs that would begin in the final saga that the Shonen Jump people were teasing in that recent One Piece magazine. That would begin starting at the end of Wano Country, which would be probably like at the earliest late 2021. That would be about approximately, could be longer, could be shorter, approximately 5 years. And that will take us into the final couple chapters of One Piece. And that's it. And then we'll be done by like 2027, 2028. And that's it. Now, a couple other small things I want to bring up. A couple small things. Dragon. The reason I didn't talk about Dragon is because I think, again, Revolutionary is kind of an enigma right now. And Dragon's role in that final story arc all depends on who Dragon really is. I want to know Dragon's mother. I want to know, what his motivations for heading the Revolutionary Army are. Obviously, his goal is to take down the world government. So he's siding with Luffy by the end of all this. Most likely. Unless they somehow differ about, like, 1 or 2 different little problems. But on the whole, right? I think Dragon, taking down the world government, alongside Luffy, achieves his goal and achieves his dream. And so, really, just seeing who Dragon fights and what his role is going to be depends on when we find out more about Dragon. So it's too early to speculate on that. That's my guess, right? Let's talk a little about Vivi, okay? Let's talk about Vivi. Vivi is technically a Straw Hat. She is. She's a Straw Hat that left the crew. She is technically a Straw Hat. All right? Vivi is one of the few faces that was on the bounty posters that Imu was holding, where the Gorosei were like, we're going to snuff somebody out of this world. She was there. Obviously, the Nefertari family is important. Vivi's going to play a role in the story. I don't know if she rejoins the crew before Laughtale, after Reverie. I don't know what's going to happen. But Vivi's going to be important, but I just don't really even know where to begin speculating what her role in the story is going to be after all this. So there's Vivi. Then, moving on from Dragon, moving on from Vivi, moving on from the Admirals, moving on from the Supernovas and the Straw Hats, the other characters, really, are just the remnants of like the allies, right? So like Jinbei and the Fishman and Carrot and the Minx, right? Seeing everybody live happily and being able to experience what this all blue is, or what this truly free world is that Luffy has then created due to all the things that he's been doing in the story. So there you go. And Emu, just like Fentalk was talking about, Emu I think we know too little about outside of they're clearly important to the final story arc, and there will be a confrontation with them. Beyond that, I think it's too early to speculate on anything else regarding Emu. So that's that. Now, I think I've covered everything. And I hopefully have given you guys over the course of this, like how long we've been streaming. How long have we been streaming? What time is it right now? It's 1:04. So I've been streaming for like 2 hours. Hopefully, I've given you a good breakdown of sort of what I believe the general outline of the rest of the story is going to look like. And hopefully now that I've gone over all of this, you, one, better understand what the Shonen Jump editors were talking about when they said that we're entering the final arc, where they don't mean final arc, they mean final saga, and that the final saga will include multiple story arcs. Hopefully that gives you a better idea of that. Hopefully it gives you a better idea of where my head is at in terms of final confrontations and arcs that we need to see happen. Hopefully this helped with that. And hopefully, this was fun. Hopefully you guys got to hear all these weird theories and ideas that I have. But again, none of what I said is fact. Please do not take any of this as fact. And please, 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 I beg of you, please, do not think that I think all of this stuff needs to happen outside of Zoro versus Mihawk. I'd be mad if that was off screen. But none of the other stuff I mentioned needs to happen for me to enjoy the end of One Piece. It doesn't. I've been on this ride for such a long time. Outside of Zoro versus Mihawk being off screen, I really am just here for the ride. I think whatever Oda wants to do, I'm here for. And whatever these final story arcs are going to look like within this final saga, great. Now, a couple things. I see some people bringing up Zebek. I should have mentioned this earlier. I think Zebek obviously has ties to Blackbeard. I think all that stuff, God Valley, everything, I think all of that will be squared away by the finale of the Laughtale story arc, with the major focus being on Blackbeard as the main antagonist. That's what I think. We got a donation from Ash the Stampede saying, did you know that Joy Boy is based on a real pirate king named Jayabaya who made a prophecy before his death? I did not, but now I got to look it up. That was the other thing we brought up earlier. All right, well, excellent. Out of focus again, Roger? Well, hopefully we're back in focus. I mean, we're at the end of the stream now, so it's okay. We're fine. But any last questions that you guys have about the final saga or arc of One Piece? Any questions at all? Please drop them in the comments. And also, I'm well aware, I brought this up at the beginning of the stream, I'm well aware Attack on Titan's out, the scanlations are out, I'm waiting for the official translation in a couple days. I know Solo Leveling 111 and 112 have scanlations out. I'm reading the translation on Saturday, so look forward to both of those. They're coming up soon, I didn't forget. And remember that One Piece is going to be Monday next week. It's not going to be Sunday, so Mondays when I'm doing live reactions and reviews. Final donation comes from Alexander, who says, I think it'd be cool if Luffy sends his crew to get his grandfather, and that's when Zoro fights Mihawk, gets his respect, and comes to the last battle. Cool idea. Cool idea. Rayleigh, I think, comes into play during the final war again. That's when Rayleigh comes into play. Joy Boy. Well, obviously, that's all Laughtale. The Joy Boy stuff is all Laughtale. Definitely. Like, no question about it. Because obviously that was important to Roger, because he mentioned in the Oden flashback, oh, we're too early. The next Joy Boy hasn't been born yet. The person they're waiting for hasn't been born yet. So obviously those people, the Poseidon and Joy Boy, in my eyes at least, are Luffy and Shirahoshi. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyway, one last thing I want to advise you guys to do. One quick thing. If you have not already, well, I'm seeing a lot of people on here. If you have not already, make sure to enter the One Piece popularity poll. Make sure to do this. Results have officially been underway. We've already received over 10,000 unique votes on this popularity poll so far. This poll is being set up as the biggest that I've ever done on this YouTube channel, because again, each of these 10,000 votes that have already been put in place have 3 votes each, because it's their first favorite, second favorite, third favorite. So if you have not already voted on the popularity poll ends on Saturday. Voting ends on Saturday. So get your votes in right now for your 3 favorite One Piece characters. This is the last time I'm going to be able to remind you in video form and something that is not a One Piece related video on the channel. So please, 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 please get your votes in there, please. And then finally, last super chat comes from Ash the Stampede saying, please Google the Jayabaya prophecy and the One Piece of 8, my brother. I will Google it off camera. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you vote. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye, everybody. All right. That was very, very good. Very good indeed.